Why am I here?
You know why, Victor. We've talked before.
I know that. I answered your questions last time. Why am I here again? You know, my kid is in a play today.
What play?
I don't know. Some terrible retelling of Shakespeare. The same shit that all the schools in this country do. It will be hard to sit through, but it's important to him.
Oh, well, I never got to do that in school. How old is he? He's in college now, right?
There it is.
What?
You change your tone. I tell you one thing about myself, and suddenly your tone changes to more pleasant, more welcoming. Like you are trying to sell me life insurance.
Victor.
And it tells me you want something from me. Like you did on the 3rd of September last year, and January 14th the year before.
This time is different.
Maybe it is for you, not for me. This changes nothing.
Victor, you know exactly what this means. The signal...
The signal doesn't matter. I have no idea what you are talking about.
It matters to the man who's sending it. We don't even know where it's coming from, Victor. His life is in danger. And we don't know where he is. The signal is so degraded we can barely read it.
You have an idea where it's coming from. Don't lie to me.
An idea? But I can't discuss that.
Do you know his name?
Yes.
How?
He went missing 4 months ago, and we have his voice print on file.
So he's military?
Yes.
Turn off the recording.
After some convincing and some broad strokes, Victor has agreed to let this conversation be recorded as long as it is classified and stays on analog records, no digital files. Can you verbally confirm this agreement?
Yes.
I need you to say I agree to the terms outlined by Agent Greene.
Yes, I agree to the terms outlined by Agent Greene.
Okay. You can start whenever you're ready.
Tell me, what do you know about Venus?
Begin daily log, Viktor Balandin, September 7th, 1977. There isn't much to say today, just like the last few days. I've been ordered, however, to provide excruciating detail of my day-to-day tasks, so I suppose I'll talk about that. Here's what I've done today. Nothing. No replacement parts, no burnt-out fuses or power connectors. There have been no issues with the air recycling and no issues with the sensory equipment. There haven't been any broken components for the last 2 weeks. I've only had minor jobs, and honestly, I begin to worry about my sanity here. There is just nothing to do. We couldn't even bring board games with us, so I spend most of my time checking systems or looking through the scope. I occasionally get the slightest glimpse of the surface. It is dull, and it is black, it's full of rocks and not much else. I take pictures of the glimpses as fast as I can, trying to capture whatever we were sent here to get. But I don't know if I believe Feliks when he says there is life here. He seems convinced. It is infuriating to watch him sometimes. Everything is related to the mission. Everything has to do with finding whatever they saw down here in 68. but I don't see how anything can live here, much less down there. But that's not my area, so I stay out of it. We are still required to have weekly sessions with Sasha. As the chief doctor for the mission, she has the burden of taking care of our minds and bodies. She trained her whole life in communications, but suddenly, when she was recruited for Hellsky, they informed her that communications would only be a small part of her duties. None of us were treated as unfairly as she was, in my opinion. They shoved so much medical and psychological knowledge down her throat. In 6 months, it is incredible she didn't have a breakdown. I find myself in my sessions with her mostly feeling sorry for her. But she has Julian. We have only been here a few weeks, and already she seems to have taken a liking to him. At least their sessions last much longer than mine. Sasha is a good girl. A good girl trapped here with 3 men who are already old in their heads. It's not fair to her. And unfortunately, I believe it to be a distraction for Julian. Anyway, according to her, it helps to talk about things going on here. It's the whole reason we have to do these recordings in the first place. I don't think they ever intend to recover these. Even if they do, they will be classified and never spoken of again until someone who doesn't know any better finds them in a box in a dark closet. So, I guess my point is, it really doesn't matter what I talk about here. So, here we go. I feel like I am being watched at all times. When I sleep, when I eat, when I'm alone or with one of the others. Sasha says it's paranoia manifested by this mission and our needed isolation, but I have never been paranoid before. Even spending a whole year with the KGB breathing down my neck, I was never paranoid. I never worried about any of it. And I have also had trouble sleeping. When I'm half asleep, I keep thinking I see a person standing in my cabin. But it's like their back is always to me. It's like they aren't there for me. But then I blink and it begins to fade. And when I blink again, it's gone. I only really noticed it for the first time last week. But I think it's been happening every night since. Maybe I am going crazy.
Commander Feliks Vasiliev, Daily Log, September 8, 1977. I guess we're all speaking English now. It was suggested early on that we switch between English, Chinese, and Russian to keep them up. The idea being we might need them one day if we go back home. But my Chinese is awful enough, I gave up speaking it after mission week 2. We do all seem to know English well, so we've started switching between the two. Now it seems the majority of our conversations are in this language. I don't really mind. It keeps my mind active, translating everything I hear in my head, and then translating my response. Plus, the curse words are so much better than ours.
So many harsh sounds, sharp cuts. I will start by saying I know that the Chief of Communications and Mission Dr. Sasha Zhukova is in a relationship with the Chief Scientist Yulia Novikov. A relationship that they have failed to disclose to me, their commanding officer. Chief Zhukova and Chief Balandin have been here only 8 weeks, and already there are problems. Before their arrival, it had been months since Yulia and I had run into any issues at all, much less with personnel. I'm wondering if Sasha and Yulian will ever tell me, or if they think this is just how it is now. I have to say, they still act professional when in the presence of myself or Viktor. But I hear things when they are alone. Viktor is another problem. I informed him of our real mission last week, and he became almost hostile. I know we aren't supposed to talk about it on any sort of digital record, but this is the only place I can report to. When he heard there was life here, he immediately asked me how, what it looked like, how did we know it was here, and how was any of it possible? I told him the truth. We knew because of what we saw in Venera 4 8 years ago. I told him I've seen the pictures myself, and he still doesn't believe me. Now it seems he's convinced we are wasting our time. This is all a stunt of some kind. He might be a problem. But all we have to do is find something. A trace of movement, or a structure of some kind. Hell, I'll take a pile of rocks if we can call it a nest. I've been looking at the same printouts for 5 years. Nothing has changed. ANVIL is moving fast enough, the cameras and sensors have covered most of the northern surface by now. But still, nothing. I keep telling myself it's possible we wouldn't have seen it by now. That we are looking in the wrong places. Viktor's lack of belief in the mission has me questioning if we will ever find it. But I will stay resolute. I am the commander of Hellsky, and we will find new life. Begin daily log. Commander Feliks Vasiliev, September 10, 1977. Today, something happened that I can't quite explain. Sasha told us to talk about anything out of the ordinary. After all, this is the first time anyone has lived in this place. We don't know what we are dealing with. I was watching the readouts from our gas sensors. There was nothing, as usual. 96.5% carbon dioxide, 3.5% nitrogen, and some traces of everything else, mostly sulfur dioxide. Then there was a spike. I think it was a glitch in the sensor. There's a very brief reading of something like STEM, highly concentrated hydrogen and oxygen. Then it stopped registering entirely. Not just the STEM, but the entire chemical makeup of the atmosphere, which is impossible. I pinged the sensor, reset it, and ran quick test. It was working. There was nothing wrong with the connection, and there was nothing wrong with the component. After a few minutes of flatline and scratching my head, the readings returned to normal. I have no idea what caused it. It is impossible that it was steam because that would require water. But when I looked up from the printouts outside, on the window glass, I swear I saw droplets of a clear liquid before it was swept away by the wind. It was only an instant, but it was there. I won't tell anyone. There isn't anyone here who would believe me. Sasha would tell me that I imagined it, and Viktor would call me crazy. I don't know how Yulian would react, but it would be similar. There is something else also. Something that can't have happened. Last night, I woke to something cold on my cheek. When I opened my eyes, I saw the shape of a man standing over my bed. I tried to hit it, and my hand passed through something cold and wet like mist. But then it was gone. Before I could even blink, it disappeared. When I checked my hand, there was nothing. No moisture, dry as sand. I can never mention this again because I know where this leads. I am fully in control of myself and my thoughts. I know what I saw.